Stuff like that doesn't happen if there's no men and women to stand in the gap. Not because God doesn't want to do it, but no one's willing to allow God to use them. Because we are God's hands here on the earth. Yes, if God wanted to, He could move His Spirit and come down and raise somebody from the dead in plain sight if He wanted to. But He desires to use the church. When Christ went away, He said, "Greater things shall ye do than I." He wants to use us. He doesn't want to do it Himself, but He wants to use the church folk so He can prove to the world that there is a greater, higher power, that there is God, and that there is a power like never before. That the Father should receive the glory and the honor. Amen. But if no one is willing to stand in the head and make up that gap and say, "Lord, here am I, use me," these things are never going to happen, or rarely going to happen, and the power of God in this world is not going to be displayed, not because He does not desire it to be, but because the church is too lackadaisical, saying, "Lord, that takes me out of my comfort zone. I don't want to do that." Where are the prophets of today? Where are those who are willing to be the messengers? Where are the men and women that know how to get a hold of God? Where are the intercessors? Where are the ones that will cry out for hours, "Lord, send revival. Lord, send the power of the movement of the Holy Ghost. Lord, change me. Change my heart. Change my mind. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Where you want me to go, I'll go. If I'm going to the grocery store and you want me to go somewhere else on the way, I want to be so in tune with you that I'm obedient. And I will change my course to follow the voice of God to deliver the message to one soul." About 2 weeks ago, there was a car accident down in Texas. A man and his wife. The man was killed. His name was David Wilkerson. A man who I've never heard it applied to him by himself, but a man that is known as a prophet. Everything he prophesied throughout his lifetime, he never missed the mark as far as I'm aware. He was always dead on. He started up there in Times Square when he seen a newspaper, a magazine cover with several young boys on the cover who were charged with murder. That gripped his heart. And he felt God calling him to the streets of New York City. He soon began street work in New York City and reaching out to the gang members, the prostitutes, whoever was available, whoever was willing. He didn't go into the most richest part of the city. He didn't go in where and start a church where he knew he'd have middle class to maybe support him and get him going. He went to the poor, the impoverished, those who needed God like none other. Those who were looking, those that were not only poor physically, but that was destitute spiritually. And there, in the middle of the slums, in the middle of what would be termed the red light district of New York City, where all the prostitutes were, where all the movie theaters were, where all the gangs were, he started Times Square Church. One of his most famous converts was the gang member Nicky Cruz, who is still going around evangelizing today, speaking for God, because God changed his life, because one man said, "Lord, I'll stand in the gap. I'll make up that hedge. If no one else will go, I will go." Just let me be used of you. Let me be your prophet. Let me be your messenger. He prophesied, I think it was in the 70s, that he seen rockets coming towards New York City. And it didn't matter what everyone tried to do, the government couldn't stop it. And the city was in flames and on fire. And no one could put it out. And when 9/11 struck, everyone thought this was the fulfillment of his prophecy. And he said no. It might be recorded down, but only one man knows what God revealed to him. He might have shared the message, but the man of God, the prophet, is now dead. Who's going to continue the work he started? Yes, he He has a great church in New York City. It's huge. That's not why it began. It began for souls. It began for those that were lost. Because one man said, I was willing to stand in the gap. Don't get me wrong. God does bless when we follow. He will provide all our needs. But it's not always going to be easy. And throughout our lifetime, we might not end up, if God would call us away, with a great big church. We might not have great numbers in the bank. We might not be driving a Rolls Royce and have a Rolex on our arms. But that's not the riches. The riches are those that are laid up in heaven. What would you rather have? A Rolex on your arm? Or things we cannot even speak of that are kept in heaven that we don't even know about? Because God said, you are faithful. You've done this. But God is looking for men and women who are saying, I will stand in the gap. I will make up the hedge.
Yes, praise God.
And I'm not looking for people. That's not God's message today. He's not looking for people to say, you know what? I'm being called to the office of the prophet. That's not the way we're looking at today. If he does, great. What he's looking for is messengers. His hands extended. We talked about that. That was the other definition of a prophet. The one upon whom the Spirit of God rests. One who's willing to be the mouthpiece of God. Not just sometimes, all the time. But the cry is, there's a gap. Are you going to fill it? Where are the prophets? What would have happened? And I realize the situation behind Solomon. What would have happened if at a young age he didn't have a sensitive heart? That thing that David wanted to, the building of the temple, would it have ever been accomplished? Or would it just be the tabernacle and it would have always been roaming around? Yes, it might have sat on Mount Moriah, but the temple would have never been built. The splendor of God would have never been seen in such a building. And people like the Queen of Sheba would have never been touched. A woman so touched, I might add, that on Judgment Day she shall stand in judgment. Not because she's being judged, but she's going to judge those who said, you had Jesus Christ. You had somebody better. I had Solomon. What did you do with Jesus? What would have happened if there would have been men like Elijah, who seems that just appear on the scene? But what if, when he threw his mantle over Elisha, Elisha would have just brushed it off and said, I got plowing to do. Twice the amount of miracles would have never been done.
Right.
What about Paul? If he would have never picked up the call, would he have lived a lifetime blind? Don't just think about him. We wouldn't have the majority of the New Testament. There wouldn't have probably been a missionary to the Gentiles like it was supposed to be. Where are the prophets of today? Who's willing to stand in the gap? Because God still does mighty things.
Yes, he does.
Philip went down and baptized an Ethiopian eunuch. And then God calls him to Azotus. And you know how he got to Azotus? Because he was willing to obey. As he was, right after he finished baptizing the eunuch, the Holy Ghost picked him up and placed him in Azotus. Miles away. We limit God. We don't just limit him by thinking about things that, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? God moves mountains. I remember hearing accounts of a missionary who had a great mountain to get over to get to this tribe, and he knew he had to get there before, I think it was the enemy approached. And God removed the mountain, and he crossed over into that tribe. And the camping party that was with him and following him arrived several days later because they had to cross that mountain. But because he prayed, God removed that obstacle. And he arrived there before anything ever happened. Where's our faith? Not only that, are we willing to stand in the gap? Are you willing to stand in the gap? Am I willing to stand in the gap no matter what the cost? No matter how ridiculous it may make us appear? Are we willing Today we're going to do things a little bit different. I realize at the time, if we are honest and sincere, if we are truly sincere, if you're going to do it half-heartedly, just stay sitting down. It's not even worth it. Don't lie to God and come to the altar. But if that is truly you, if you really want to see God use, if you truly say, God, I will be the one to stand in the gap, no matter the cost, then find yourself a place around the altar. Not kneel, but with your hands raised. Everything surrendered. Everything surrendered. If we are going to allow God to use us, if we are going to be the prophets of God in the sense that the Spirit of God is going to rest upon Him, and we're going to allow Him to use us like never before, we have to be fully surrendered. If that is you today, why don't you come with arms raised and find a place to pray? Say, Lord, I surrender it all today. No matter what the cost, no matter what the price, I lay it down at your feet. Because I know you have greater things to do. You have greater things to do. And if we are faithful, you will be faithful. That's you.